If you're a quarterback that struggles with anxiety, arm pain, overthinks your mechanics, or just is training really hard and knows there is a better way, please watch this video. How do I know? Because I was the exact same way. My name is KJ Carter Samuels. I was a 4-star Elite 11 quarterback coming out of high school with offers all across the country and thought that I was going to play in the NFL. Until I got to the University of Washington, and in my battle for the starting job my freshman year, I fell completely flat on my face. Why? Because I doubted myself. And this was all because of how I was taught to throw the football. Because of this, I became heavily depressed. I was working so hard to try and be the very best that I could be, and I wasn't improving. And so I had to quit. It wasn't until 3 years later, basically had one more year of eligibility left, and I decided to throw out everything I had been taught about how to play this position and study it for myself, that my life completely changed. I had figured it out, and I had restored the confidence within myself by teaching myself, which allowed me to transfer to the University of Colorado State, and in my first start there, break the single game passing record.
KJ Carter Samuels delivers again, Warren Jackson.
And then go on from there to play professionally in Germany and win a German Bowl MVP. But the most important piece was that I was confident. I knew what I could do with the ball, and no one could take that from me. And so that is my passion now, which is to help you gain that same level of confidence within yourself and not allow other people to hold you back, limit you, because you can learn how to do this, and you can learn how to believe in yourself and be as confident as you ever could be. And I want to share with you that knowledge. And in order to do that, I want to share with you my story. So my story begins in the 5th grade. This is when I first started playing football. I was a nose guard and D tackle in my first position. I played 6 plays a game, and I absolutely hated it. Football wasn't even really something that I was that into, but my dad played in college. I watched my brother playing. I was always surrounded by it. Come around 8th grade, I'm starting to grow a little bit, and now I actually became a quarterback. And then freshman year football, and played decently, but still wasn't great or took it that seriously or anything like that. And then I actually tried out for the golf team. When I tried out for the golf team, I actually didn't make the team by 1 stroke. And I remember that day after I didn't make the team by 1 stroke, I said, football's it. I had just watched my brother go through high school, take his team to the state championships, and him earn a scholarship to the University of Wyoming. And I think it started a vision for myself of a possible future that I could see as far as being able to pay my way to college. I don't come from a very well-off family. I didn't see another option to going to school besides earning a scholarship. I didn't want to put my family in that financial burden or myself in that financial burden, so I wanted to find a way to pay for my education. And once I didn't make that team, the golf team, by 1 stroke, football was it. That was my ticket. That was my vehicle. So really, football for me was a vehicle. It was something to get me to that next level, to pay for my education. And so because of that, and because I didn't see another option, I didn't see another way to doing that, I was 10 toes deep committed to this thing. I was going to do whatever I could, and I was training all the time. I started lifting twice a day, every single day, training with quarterback coaches all the time, and just doing whatever I could. There was no other option. This was what I was going to make happen. And so from there, I just continued training every single day, improving so much. I went from 150 pounds my freshman year to 185 my sophomore year, and got so much better. Played on the JV my sophomore year and had a great year, but still didn't think I was that great. You know, I still had my sights set on Ivy Leagues and these kind of D2 good schools. And this is where I was at in my head of what I could become, what I thought I could become. And then come around, my brother has now transferred to the University of Vanderbilt, and I go out for a camp there. And at this camp, I'm throwing. And at this point, I'm about 195, 200 pounds, and I'm spinning it pretty good. And James Franklin offers me a scholarship. And I hadn't even stepped on the field on varsity yet, just based on my potential, just based on what he saw in me. And this completely changed my life. This completely changed my life, because now I went from believing that I could play in the Ivy League or D2. That's the standard that I had myself at, of my ceiling, what I could become. But yet, when he offered me the scholarship, I realized I could become so much better than that, so much better than that. And now I had accomplished what I set out to do, which was earn a scholarship to a great university and great education. And that was the University of Vanderbilt. And I loved James Franklin. And so I committed. I jumped on the opportunity and I committed. And I was excited about it. But now my sights were set on, okay, if I now just accomplish this dream, what about setting myself up financially for the rest of my life? And I was actually starting to enjoy it a lot more because I was feeling that progress, feeling really good at it. And so I just went 20 toes deep as I could, and just upped that training, upped everything even more. By that time, I got to 215 pounds by my junior year in high school, and just everything started booming. I played really well as the junior player of the year in high school, had a blast, and started getting looked at by so many other schools as well. And then after that junior year, got invited to the Elite 11 camp, and that was an awesome experience. Loved it. Competing against the top 11 quarterbacks in the country, knowing that's who my peers were. That's who I was competing with to play professionally one day. Like, that's where my mind was at. And so I was hungry, and I was doing everything that I could to make this thing happen. And I was progressing, and I was getting better. But somewhere always in the back of my mind, I knew there was something somewhat off. I knew there was something that I'm a good player, but I'm doubting myself even a little bit in high school. But I could make up for it because I had a physical advantage just by being 215, 225 pounds by my senior year. But yet when I got to the University of Washington, where I eventually went, because James Franklin left a month before my signing day to the University of Vanderbilt, I fell completely flat on my face in my competition for the starting job my freshman year. And this was because when you get to that next level, especially at a D1 school, you better believe in yourself and what you can do. Because if not, it's going to show. And I was putting in work like crazy. I'm working out in the gym. I'm studying my plays. I'm watching film. I'm doing everything that I can. And yet I have this internal seed of doubt going on in my mind. And it felt like the harder that I worked, almost the more that seed of doubt grew. And it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense to my mind. I'm a very logical, rational young man. And my parents raised me to believe that if you put in A, you should get B. If you work hard for something, you should see improvement. I was working as hard as I possibly could, and I didn't see any improvement. I wasn't getting any better. And that killed me. And I was up late at night at the University of Washington, just ruminating, just thinking to myself, what's going on? How do I figure this out? And I couldn't figure it out. Because everyone up until this point was telling me that everything that I was doing was perfect. My mechanics are perfect. How is everything that I'm doing perfect, but yet I'm doubting myself? I don't know if this ball, every time it's coming off my hand, is going to go where I want it to. And I would miss, and I wouldn't know why, and I wouldn't know how to fix it. It absolutely killed me. And so because of this doubt, I actually sabotaged my battle my freshman year because I didn't want to step on the field. I didn't want to run into the USC Trojan Stadium, into Oregon Stadium, and play against these teams not believing in myself. Because if I couldn't get myself to believe in myself, how could I get the rest of my team to believe in me? And so I thought I was just going to embarrass myself. I thought I was going to embarrass my family. So I didn't want it. I didn't want to play. But this had me in a really tough place because that was my dream. That was my goal. That was what I wanted. I wanted to go to the league. And I was doing everything that I could to make that happen, but yet not feeling any growth, feeling stagnant. That has to be one of the worst feelings in the world. And because of this, I became super depressed because I couldn't wrap my head around it and I couldn't figure it out and I couldn't understand it. And for the next 3 years, I basically quit. I mentally checked out, mentally quit, was going through the motions, and it wasn't until my senior year that I was sitting on the couch watching Deshaun Watson in the national championship, who I just competed with at the Elite 11 in high school. He finished number 10 at the Elite 11, I finished number 11, and I was sitting there and I was like, what's the difference? Why has he played all these games and he's up for Heisman, and I've played one college football game? What's the difference? And it dawned on me, maybe I missed something. And I only had one more year of eligibility left. And I was like, I'm going to come at this with a completely different approach. I remember that next day I called up my OC, Jonathan Smith, and told him, Coach, I'm coming at this with a whole new mentality. Because I only had one more year of eligibility left. So I was going to be so angry at myself if I just let this opportunity pass me by without trying at least one more time. And so I went into the quarterback room that very next day, and I threw out everything that I had nothing to lose. And so I was like, I'm going to go figure this out for myself. Throw out everything I'd been taught from all my coaches. They helped me so much, but this knowledge hasn't been around of how to play this position properly. And when I studied it from the best of the best, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, I realized that everything that I was taught about how to play this position and what was perfect was completely wrong. And I started to teach myself based on what I was watching. And the very first thing that I actually switched was holding the ball lower in the middle of my chest. I was always told to hold the ball high and tight. And yet I put on the tape of Tom Brady and he's holding it right in the middle of his chest. It was the very first thing that I changed. Started feeling a little bit better. And every day that I started making these changes based on what I saw and teaching myself, that ball started coming off my hand and going everywhere I wanted it to at all times. Changed my life. It changed my life. I now had the confidence that I was searching for the entire time. The entire time. And all it took was taking out this idea, this thought of how the position was supposed to be played and replacing it with how it's actually played and how I want to play. And that confidence, that conviction led me to going, I need to transfer. I need to go play. I now have the key that I was looking for the entire time, and now I am the best player that I ever thought I could be. So then I transfer to the University of Colorado State for my last year of eligibility. And in my first start there, I break the single game passing record, throwing for 550 yards. And again, it wasn't about that accomplishment. It was about within myself, in my heart, in my soul, and in my mind, I knew I was the best player on the field. And no one could take that from me. No one could take that from me. And after that, I went on to go play professionally in Germany, and I won a German Bowl MVP, and we won the championship. And every game, every situation, every time, I knew that I was the best damn player I ever thought I could be. And none of that could have happened except for me deciding to throw out everything I'd been taught and teach myself. And so now it is my passion, and why I stopped playing was because my brother Austin started Locked In QB, which is taking both my pain and the pain that my brother went through his college football experience and coaching experience, and now trying to help you guys not go through it yourselves. That's where this comes from, is the pain that I went through, my brother went through, and going, how can we help young KJ, young Austin, who was in a dark place at the University of Washington where I was at mentally. That is why I do this. And that's why it's my mission to share the proper knowledge. So that way you don't have to reach the end of your career to step into your full potential like I did. And I still might play. Because I can do some special things with a football in my hands. But I don't want you to reach the end of your career, and I want you to enjoy it, because I believe that if I had the knowledge that I have right now, when I was in high school, when I was at the University of Washington, I believe I would be sitting in the NFL right now. And I want that for you. So I hope you know that that's where this comes from. And please, just reach out, because I'd love to help you and share this knowledge with you.